Well, good morning, everyone. Once again, we're off to our daily festivities with the young ducklings. And how you doing, Charles? Say hello to everybody. Unfortunately, the girl I thought wasn't limping is still limping. I just saw her head over here. If she happens to get up on her own and move, that's fine. You'll see her limp, but I'm not going to make her. I'm pretty sure it's that one laying down there like a little cow chomping on the grass is the one that was limping. No, there she is right there. There she is. So hopefully she'll recover well enough, and hopefully they won't run her around too much today. I mean, that's what she really needs, is kind of to take it easy. But like I've said, I've seen ducks get a limp, and they always seem to work it out. And it's probably that with just as many of them as there are, one of them takes a spill and others go down on top of them, kind of like there she goes, hopping along. And she's fine until they take off too far. There she goes. Poor girl. You'll be all right. You stick with it, girl. And don't worry about falling behind. They ain't going very far. Anyway, so they're making their patrol around the porch. We've been pretty big about keeping them off of there. Max is no help with that at all. But everybody's progressing nicely. I figure we're at like a week or maybe 2 weeks before we can put them in with the other ones. I don't think there's any aggression problems now, but since no one is mom to look after them and they haven't come up with the flock, I'm just worried about, until we get them moved to the bigger area, kind of them getting trampled and having more of this limp problem. See, there goes Limpy again. She's following the flock. But anyway, let's go out and find everybody else. The Muscovies are still hanging out over here. Let's take you over here for a minute. I've got a little thing to show you. I bought a tiller. Jack Spirko, enemy of the tiller, has purchased a tiller, but not for what you normally get a tiller for. I'm using it basically as a trencher, and I have a lot of work for it because I don't want to dig this dirt all by hand, and a real trencher is useless here. But I did that yesterday in just about 20 minutes all the way back to there. That don't look opened as up as it is because I haven't cleaned it out with a hoe yet, but it worked real good through there because those are the garden paths. I was concerned about it here, but I'm going to have no problem getting, I don't know, a ½ inch of cover on top of a 1-inch pipe, and that's about as good as we're going to do here anyway. So that works, and this is nice and flat, the bottom of this. And if I took 3 passes with that, it would make a pretty nice micro swale. And that might be the final solution for that west pasture that's in such bad shape out there. We'll talk more about that in the future. On another note, Carl the rooster and Upgrade the rooster, who we'll see tomorrow's video, get a good close-up of them for you. Probably the last time they're ever on video here because they have new homes, and their new daddy is coming to pick, well, their new daddies are coming to pick each one up separately on Saturday and meet me and Nick Ferguson for our conference call with the plant propagation course. Which you can learn more about the plant propagation course at permaethos.com, permaethos.com. Look at the plant propagation course. And that's a course taught by my buddy Nick Ferguson. And, well, he'll teach you how to produce about $20,000 worth of plants in a couple of 4x8 beds, if you want to know how to do that. And be able to grow all this crazy stuff I'm growing here without buying it all. I talked about having 150 trees to put in. Sometimes people have a hard time visualizing how small that might be. They're right there. There's 100 autumn olives and 50 locust trees in that little pot right there. And those need to go in and go in soon. But I'd sure rather plant them when they're that big than when they're, you know, full size. It's a heck of a lot easier to do. We walk through here, autumn olive. That's a Shipova. Oh, what is this little guy here? That's a Star King Delicious Plum. That is a cherry. That is a mini royal cherry. That is a spring satin Plumcot, which is a plum apricot cross. That's a nectarine of some sort. I'll tell you in just a second what it is. It is a sure crop nectarine. That's a Methany Plum there at the end. And that right there is dwarf mulberry. And there's a bunch of other stuff in here we're going to skip for today. Actually, there's currant row back there. So from that red tag right there all the way down to right here is a whole group of currants in. And that's because this one right here was just a plain old black currant. Was planted last year along with about 25 other currants. And that's where currants lived, is in this one little microclimate here So we'll see if we can establish kind of a little currant row. And to close this before the ducks find out it's open, my little swing gate for this back side of this pasture. I expect they're still out having their baths. Bear with me here while I close this up. Let's go see if they're where I expect them to be. They are. As I wanted to show you where they're at today and kind of what the plan is going from here and why I moved the water when I did. So I actually would have preferred to do maybe 2 more batches of water dump in the last place I had them. But I know if I want to get this area worked before the next rotation to the next paddock, I needed to get them in here now because I'm going to be running out of time soon. So if you can see, I got these all lined up. And a lot of you are familiar with chicken tractors. You set your chicken tractor and you move it, and you move it again, you move it again. Well, here, it's like free-range chicken tractors, only it's duck poop water tractors. So I had them all lined up there, and they'll just march all the way down to the back side of that swale along that fence line out there. And we'll inoculate this whole area with great fertility. And it's not just their poop, guys. It's that activity right there. See what they're doing? See how they're shoving their beaks in there? They're aerating that soil. They're depesting that soil. They're taking weed seeds out of that soil. They're triggering germination characteristics. There's a lot of stuff in the ground anywhere. You know, I put a lot of cover crop down, but a lot of stuff will start springing up when the germination conditions are right. Different weeds, different plants, they germinate under different circumstances. Compacted soil, loose soil. Some seeds germinate when there's fire, but a lot of seeds won't germinate until you start to get good biological activity, and it's their turn to kind of take over and go from there. Well, I want to finish up today with, you guys get to work. What I want to finish up today was what I promised you yesterday. I said I'd take you through that little diamond-shaped area over there and tell you some of the things that are growing in there. So, and there is a print of this whole piece of the property, in fact, the whole property available. I'll put a link in today's show notes. It's in PDF. You can look at it. It was the original design. It's changed a lot, but just to give you a feel looking at this video, there's a swale right there. That's the lowest point on this property. And there's a big long swale that starts right here and goes all the way back there, a couple 100 feet, all the way to the back of the property. And that swale is moving water from here all the way back there where it has to come back through the land, infiltrate through this swale, and finally dump out there. And all of that water used to go straight in that ditch, right down that road, and everybody says you can't grow anything here because there's not enough rain. Well, the problem is all the water's going away. So we're in dry lands. We're using these swales to infiltrate water. Swales can work in wetlands, drylands. It doesn't matter. It's all how they're applied. They're a tool. I can give you more on that later. Let's just take a look at what we got here. We have a great big beautiful apricot. I wasn't sure what this tree, this is one of the few trees that were planted by the homeowner. Really like the bark on that. We're going to try to figure out what kind of apricot that is this year. There's almost no doubt in my mind it came from Lowe's, because everything that I found in this house that this guy did came from Lowe's. So that's probably, if I go there and see what they have and look at the information on it, probably help me track that down. It'll probably fruit this year. It's got a lot of buddage going. It put one apricot out last year. I think this year will be different. This right here is from a company called One Green World, and it is a fruiting rose. It's specifically grown for really great rose hips, and it's just starting to break dormancy. This is a Bruce plum, and you can see it's starting to put on its buds. That's probably going to kill Nick Ferguson. I think he wanted scion off of this, so you might be able to get some still. Over here we got two different varieties of elderberries, and I got elderberries all through the property. But these are cultivated varieties. Right here, we have an autumn olive, nitrogen fixer, and a fruit source. Here we have a gooseberry. I'm not sure if that's going to survive or not. It's one of those things we're just trying to do things that you're not supposed to be able to do. That little bitty plant right there is a Cornelian cherry dogwood. That's known as a redstone variety. And they haven't done very well here, but I'm hoping that by making it through the first season and establishing roots, maybe they'll do better this year. We'll see. These two trees here are what are called Hansons bush cherries. I had poor hopes for them, and everywhere I've planted them, they've done beautiful. The question is really not so much will they grow now, will they produce fruit, and if they do, what will the quality be? So I'm hesitant to plant a lot more of them until I get an answer to that. Hopefully these guys will give me just even a couple fruits is all I need this year. These were planted from seedlings. These are not grafted. This is Earned Shimmer, which is an Israeli apple. I've learned since I selected it for here that it's considered a detestable apple and it needs to go away. It's not worth taking up space with. It just doesn't produce good quality fruit. Anna and Dorset are better, so we'll probably figure out how to overgraft this tree. Maybe Nick will do a video for the students this weekend on that. That big clump there, that's all been inoculated with Kingstrophoria mushroom. It hasn't done well, but I really didn't do it right. I should have inoculated a large amount of wood chips, let that build up the mycelium, and then dumped it in there, where I just dumped the inoculated stuff I bought in there. We'll see how that works out. But it might get me some mushrooms this year. Kingstrophoria, once you get them established, they just keep coming back. This is a blue crown passion flower growing here. It was a little bitty vine when I planted it this year. And you don't think you can grow passion flowers, but blue crown you can. Well, these are still green. We've had temperatures below 20. And even if it does die back, it's like maypop. It'll spring from the ground, but the quality of the passion fruit's a lot better than maypop. We'll be producing a lot of those with our misting system this year. And those sell for about 20 bucks. You can make as many of them you want with a misting system. This is a female kiwi. It's in dormancy, and there's a male over there. This is another plant that's not really supposed to be great here, so we'll see. If it doesn't grow real well this year, we'll go ahead and throw some muscadine grapes up these two oaks. Another autumn olive, just a plain Jane variety of autumn olive. Coming here, we've got some mint here. Actually, that's oregano. That's oregano, which overwinters here just fine. And this is a Methany plum, one of the most productive plums you can plant in the South. If you don't have a lot of space and you want to make sure you get a yield on something, get yourself a Methany plum and a Bruce plum and plant them next to each other for cross-pollination. You will have more plums than you know what to do with in a couple of years. And then just a little sprig of rosemary coming up here. And then over here, we have another variety of fruiting rose, if I can find it, right there, a little bitty stem. That's a Rosa Rugosa, and there's another one here somewhere. The geese trampled them pretty hard. If they get up, they won't do it no more, but we'll see if they come back this year, if there's enough root system. That's all in that little space right there. And that gives you an idea on 3 acres what we've really got going on here. We'll show you over time. And the ducks are all part of this system. Wait till I show you what's there. I'll show you what's there next episode.